Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice, where we take up the questions from the Hindu and the Indian Express and curate them as per the demands of Civil Service Prelims examination. The topic of the discussion are listed on your screen. So let us now begin our discussion. Moving on to the first article of the day that has featured in the Hindu basically talks about the issue of electoral bonds. Now the article says that if political donations do not have a complete transparency, voters are struck with the ruling party with unlimited resources being subject to relentless election campaigns while donors are directly influenced by the policy. Now UPSC in the previous year under the polity section has asked questions related to the manner of election, qualifications, disqualification and the recent changes that have been introduced, and thus this area becomes important for us as such a question was also seen in the year 2020. A practice question in this regard can be framed, and the practice question says which of the following statement about electoral bond is or are correct. The first statement here is electoral bond is a bearer banking instrument to be used for funding eligible political parties registered under section 29A of the Representation of People Act 1951 and has secured at least 12% of the votes polled in last general election to the House of People or Legislative Assembly. Now this statement is wrong as the electoral bonds are bearer banking instruments to be used for funding eligible political parties which are registered under the section 29A of RPA and has secured not less than 1% of votes polled in the last general election to the House of People or Legislative Assembly and not 12%. Moving on to the second statement, it says, through an amendment to the Finance Act 2017, the Union government has exempted political parties from disclosing details of donors and donations received through electoral bond, and this has increased anonymity in the political funding. Now, this statement is correct, as anonymity on disclosure has become one of the grounds of contention against the electoral bond, based on which a petition has also been filed in the Supreme Court. In 2017, an amendment to Finance Act was introduced which exempted the political parties from the disclosure. This means that the voters will not know which individual, company or organization has funded which party and to what extent. The amendment drastically reduced the public and legislative oversight. Only the ruling party via the State Bank of India has the full account of donations being made via electoral bond to itself and to the opposition parties. The Parliament, the Election Commission and the opposition parties do not have this information, nor do the public. The Election Commission further has described this as a retrograde step as far as transparency of donation is concerned and called for the withdrawal of the amendment. The practice question further says select the correct answer using the code given below, and as only statement 2 is correct, the correct code for the practice question is option B. Further, the correct code for the previous year question is option D. Moving on to the second article that has featured on page number 3 of the Hindu talks about the Battle of Sarai Ghat basically, which was fought on the bank of Brahmaputra in Guwahati in 1671. Now this picture highlights a war scene between Mughal and Ahom soldiers during the 400th birth anniversary celebration of Ahom general Lachit Borphukan. Now this battle of Sarai Ghat is considered as the greatest naval battles on a river which resulted in the victory of Ahoms over the Mughals. Further, in the honor of Lachit Borphukan, a gold medal is awarded to the best cadet from National Defence Academy. A practice question under the history section can be framed in this regard and can also be asked as a question under the art and culture section using some of the information that we will discuss under the practice question. The practice question in this regard says, consider the following statement regarding Ahom kingdom. The first statement here is Ahom state was created by suppressing old political system of Bhuyans. Now this statement is correct as the Ahom kingdom was established in 1228 by Chaulong Sukhapa and ruled the territory for almost 6 centuries. The Ahoms ruled the land till the province was annexed to the British India in 1826 with the signing of the Treaty of Yan Dabu. The Ahom created a new state by suppressing the older political system of the Bhuyans, basically, which translates to landlords. Moving on to the second statement, it says Ahom worshipped their own tribal gods and did not subscribe to Hindu religion. Now, this statement is incorrect, as Ahom worshipped their own tribal gods, yet they accepted the Hindu religion and the Assamese language. So, the Hindu religion was also accepted, and at the same time they also worshipped their own tribal gods. Moving on to the third statement, it says their historical works were known as Buranjis. Now this statement is also correct, as their historical work was known as Buranjis, which were first written in the Ahom language and later translated to the Assamese language. As a matter of information, the Ahom state was dependent upon forced labor, and forced laborers under the Ahoms were known as Paiks. The question further says choose the correct code, and as only statement 1 and 3 are correct, the correct code for the given question is option C. Moving on to the next article that has featured in the Hindu talks about the olive ridley sea turtles, which was cited off the Odisha coast. Now these sea turtles emerged at the Gahir Matha along the Odisha coast. Now UPSC under the environment section has also previously asked questions related to various species, and such a question was also seen in the year 2011. A practice question in this regard can be framed. The practice question says, with respect to olive ridley sea turtles, consider the following statement. The first statement here is Gahir Matha Sanctuary is world's second largest nesting beach for olive ridley sea turtle. Now this statement is wrong, as Gahir Matha Marine Sanctuary is a marine wildlife sanctuary which is located in Odisha. Secondly, it is the world's largest nesting beach for olive ridley turtles, and it extends from Dhamra river mouth in the north to Brahmani river mouth in the south. Moving on to the second statement, it says these turtles are best known for their unique mass nesting called Aribada. Now this statement is correct, as the turtles are best known for their unique synchronized mass nesting, which is called as Aribadas, where thousands of females come together on the same beach to lay eggs. Moving on to the third statement, it says the species is recognized as endangered by IUCN Red List. Now this statement is again wrong, as the species is not recognized as endangered, rather they are categorized as vulnerable. Further, as a matter of information, it should be known that olive ridley sea turtle are also commonly known as Pacific ridley sea turtle. The species is the second smallest and most abundant of all sea turtles that is found in the world. Further, it is found in warm and tropical waters, primarily in the Pacific and Indian Ocean, but also in warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The practice question further says which of the statement given above is or are correct, and as only second statement is correct, the correct code for the given question will be option A. Further, the correct code for the previous year question is option B. Now moving on to the next article that has featured in the Indian Express, basically talks about the new frontiers in the space, launch of India's first private rocket signals, and about the mission Prarambh. Now UPSC in the previous year under the Science and Technology section has continuously asked questions related to various rockets that were in news, whether it is from ISRO or that from other world agencies, and also asked about the various space missions. Thus this area becomes important for us from the perspective of prelims, as such a question was also seen in the year 2016. The practice question says consider the following satellite system. Starlink, which is matched with SpaceX. Now this pair is correct. The second is Kuiper, which is matched with Virgin Galactic. Now this pair is incorrectly matched, as satellite system plans to launch 3000 satellites in the coming years to offer range of services, which will be including services like that of broadband internet, and is an initiative of Amazon. The third here is OneWeb, as an initiative of Amazon, and this is also incorrectly matched, as OneWeb is a multi-owner company with partners like that from India of Airtel, which has a decent shareholding, France-based satellite service provider Eutelsat, and the government of United Kingdom were the company's largest shareholder, while Japan's SoftBank retained an equity holding of 12% in the OneWeb. The question further says which of the following pairs are correct, and as only one pair is correct, the correct answer for the given question will be option C, that is one only. Further, the correct answer for the previous year question is option A. Moving on to the next article that has featured in the Indian Express basically talks about the island of Great Nicobar and the proposal of a greenfield city that includes an international container transshipment terminal. The article further talks about the island of Great Nicobar and various channels like 10 degree and about the Indira Point. Now, UPSC in the previous year under the geography section has asked questions related to various geographical location of island, and such a question was also seen in the year 2017 where UPSC asked about the island and the geographical location of Great Nicobar. So this area becomes important for us from the perspective of prelims. And the practice question in this regard says, which of the following statement is or are correct regarding the Nicobar Islands? Now the first statement here is Car Nicobar is situated south of Great Nicobar. Now this statement is wrong as the Nicobar Islands are situated in the southeast of the Bay of Bengal between 6 and 10 degree latitudes. Together they are 22 large and small islands out of which only 12 have inhabitants. Now Car Nicobar is the most northerly island group and is located at a distance of 143 miles from Port Blair. Great Nicobar, on the other hand, is the southernmost landmass of Nicobar group of islands. Most of this island is hilly and undulating. The second statement here says Mount Tullier is the highest peak of Great Nicobar. Now this statement is correct, as we have discussed that most of the island of Great Nicobar is hilly and undulating, and the main hill range runs from north to south. Mount Tullier, which is approximately 2,100 feet in height, is the highest peak. Further, as a matter of information, it should be known that Galathea, Alexandra and Dagmar are the major rivers. The question further says, select the correct options from the pairs given below, and as only statement 2 is correct, the correct code for the given question is option B. Further, the correct code for the previous year question is option A. Moving on to the last question of the day that has featured on the Indian Express, basically talks about the Sardar Sarovar project on the Narmada River. Now UPSC in the previous year has asked questions related to reservoir and the states where these were located, and such a question was seen in the year 2022 only. So a practice question in this regard can be framed which matches various river water projects with the river associated with them. The practice question says consider the following pairs, project and the rivers associated. Now we have seen the Sardar Sarovar project is correctly matched with the Narmada river as we have referred it from the article. The second in this regard is Idukki project on Kaveri river. Now this pair is incorrectly matched as the Idukki project is located on the Periyar river. The third in line is the Sarhind project, which is basically falling in Haryana on Satluj river, and it's correctly matched. The last pair here is that of Tulbul project, and it is matched with Jhelum, and it is also incorrect as Tulbul project is on the Chenab river. The question further says choose the correct code, and as only two pair are correct, the correct code for the given question will be option B. Further, the correct code for the practice question will be option C. So these were the questions for the day. Stay tuned for more such updates.